Good afternoon, Tuesday man. I'm with George Page, aka the Emperor of Women's Boxing Talk. Coming to you live on YouTube. As you know, I try to bring more attention to women's boxing. It's not much going on. We have a few fights here and there, but the women in boxing, they don't get as much consideration as the male counterparts in boxing. The same as women in MMA. They work just as hard, and they get less recognition, less money. We all know the ideology because the fact is that boxing is one of the oldest sport around, and also it's ran by mostly old guys who believe in the idea that women have their place, and it's seen as more as a novelty, as anything. So anyway, I was on Twitter some time ago. I was just surfing and looking at this, and I saw this posted. It was posted on a website on Twitter, and this was official women's boxing pound for pound for 2020, February 2020, 2022. I mean, it's like, and I looked at the list and I said, this is a shitty list. This list is about as worse as the pound for pound list for the UFC, which is it's a garbage list. And I'm looking at it, and there's some names that don't really belong, and this is one name in particular is missing, and that is Claressa T-Rex Shields. What in the hell? How she's not on the pound for pound list? Even though I know she's doing MMA a while, but you know what? It's just it's not like she left boxing totally. She just fought about a couple of weeks ago and defeated another opponent going 12-0. And she is probably one of the best and probably one of the most popular Korean boxers since Claressa Shields. I mean, sorry, since I would say the list like people like Ann Brown Sugar Wolf, she be stinging Layla Ali, a lady I did an interview with, Miss Frida Cheetah Gibbs, also Christy Martin and Mia St. John. There's some really great women in the sport of women's boxing that don't get recognized compared to the men. And Clarissa is one of those. She should be in this list. So I rebooted the list. I looked at it and said, you know what? I rebooted it because it just, this is the list I put together. And the way it looks of it, it looks like this is a list. It should be the correct list. If I'm wrong, you can let me know. But this is my list, my pound for pound. Now, first off, on the top we have real deal Amanda Serrano. Now we know she's probably one of the best fighters. She's been in the fighting game for a little over 10 years. I mean, one of the best records around. She's been fighting at least 44 fights. She has 42 wins. Like at least a few KOs, like at least one or two KOs, and she has one loss and a draw, and that's pretty good. For how long she been fighting. And as you know, Katie, she last fought was about like the end of last year, and she fought her opponent Miriam Gutierrez, and she defeated her. And now she's preparing, I think in April, to fight Katie Taylor, and that's a fight that should have happened back in 2020, but financial reasons, whatever. But thanks to Jake Paul, who I'm not too much of a fan of, but the brother's getting things moving. He really got his fight set up. And next up, we have her opponent, Katie Taylor. Now, Katie's been fighting for some while. She's a former Olympic contender, a world champion contender. I mean, she has been, she's been in the game, and she's record. She's 20-0, with 6 KOs and not even a loss. And her notable fights are somebody like Daphne Passoon. Their 2 fights back to back. She fought Amanda's big sister, Cindy Serrano, and some of the other women in the sport. And she's probably one of the most popular fighters overseas. Not as popular in America like she should be, because she does live in America and she does train, but for the last year or so she's been living overseas. And she's on Eddie Hearn. Now, number 3 is Claressa T-Rex Shields. And Clarissa has been in this game, being an Olympic champion, 2-time gold medalist from 2012 and 2016, and probably one of the most popular women in the sport of boxing. And also, she's dipping in MMA. Now, she's 1-1 in MMA, but you know what? She's still developing as a fighter. I think she don't need to be in the Eva Winkle John gym. She should be someplace like, working with Chris Cyborg or somebody else who can really build American top team. They just lost Amanda Nunes. Hey, you get somebody like Claressa Shields. That's a good big name. And in her record, she has 12 fights, 12 losses, only 2 knockouts. 12 fights, 12 wins, and 2 knockouts. Never lost, no losses, no losses. But it's still, she got a upcoming fight with one of her rivals, and that is Savannah Marshall. Her and Savannah fought in the Olympics, and she has that win over her. Now here we have here is the First Lady, Cecilia Brækhus, and Cecilia's been in the game for quite some time. She fought so many legends in the past. She fought, like I think Mia St. John, several women who are up and coming in the sport of boxing, and she had the best record for a good line. She had 38 fights during her career, and with 6 wins. She was, for a good while, she was up to he was 36-0 till the last couple of fights against Jessica McCaskills, where she took a couple of losses, and that's the first loss she ever took in her career. And she had a good career. I mean, I'm surprised. The list, she was like next to the bottom, and that shouldn't be. She shouldn't be next to the bottom anyway. And she has hold many titles. And her toughest opponent was Jessica McCaskills. I think that I know there's not gonna be no third fight. If she can win that, if Cecilia had won that second fight, it possibly could have been a third fight. But there's no point in putting a third fight if you lost 2 times straight to the same opponent. It's like not like, could we compare it to like Ali and Frazier or Gotti and Ward? One had one, and had the third fight to break the tie. So we have Christina Hammer, who's been a top boxer overseas, especially in Germany. She's been fighting for a little over 10 years, 28 fights, 26 wins, 14 knockouts, 1 loss, and a no contest. And, her biggest fight to me was a fight with Claressa Shields. And that fight really, kind of changed her. I think she dropped off a little bit. Now, she hadn't fought since 2020. But I think more now she's focused on modeling and stuff like that. If she, the thing is also with female boxers, they may not even fight for a year or so, maybe even 2 years. But if there's any chance she could fight here in the States, there's opportunities for her. But I think there's more opportunities for her being a European boxer, and there's more popularity for her. Now, next we have Jessica Caskills. Caskilla McCaskills. Her anything gets me messed up. Now, she's been fighting for quite some time. With 28 fights on the belt, 26 wins, 14 by knockouts, 1 loss, and a no contest. And she's been in the game. And then she fought Katie Taylor. And that was probably one of the biggest fights during her career. And then her 2 fights against Cecilia Brækhus, and she did pretty good. The first fight was she edged it out, but the second fight, she was able to put out a decent win. I mean, I think she took some of the stiffness out of the First Lady. But the possibility, as Amanda Serrano and and Katie's gonna be fighting. If like I said, if Katie loses, maybe Jessica might want a shot at her. If Katie wins, still she might want to have a shot at her. This probably be a great sequel fight for these two. See who's gonna because like I said, there's not that many fighters for some of these ladies to fight. They pretty much fight about the same people just about all the time. But this is probably an interesting fight to see. Catskills versus Taylor too. Then you have Daphne Passoon. Now, Daphne's been fighting for a very long time. She's been in the game. She lives in Belgium, but mostly that's where she fights, overseas. And that's the thing is, with a lot of these boxers that fight overseas, that's where they mostly get the popularity, and they do pretty well. Because the fact is, there's not as many boxers, as many promotions over here in America like it should be. The American promoters don't really give opportunities to women like they should, but the women get more opportunities overseas than they do. And she's had 48 fights during her career. She had 45 wins, 19 KOs, and she only has 3 losses. Now, 2 of those losses is to Katie Taylor. And the thing is, I think Daphne, she's getting up in age. I mean, I don't think she's gonna be in much longer. She might want to get a fight with somebody climbing up the ladder, or somebody going down the ladder. So I think her future in boxing is kind of getting to the point where she's about to hit the end of the road. Then you have Mikaela Mayer. And Mikaela is an up and comer. I mean, young, attractive. This is fighters I think that promoters will love to put on their card. I know Bob Arum has supported her, and used her on fight cards. And she's an attractive young lady. She's 16-0 with 5 knockouts. Just that's a pretty good record. She has quite a few titles. But the question is there any real competition for her? It might be. Well, down the line. Then we have Savannah Mitchell, you know, who I put at number, pretty much next to the bottom. Now Savannah, she's in Great Britain, and she hasn't. At one point, she was under, Floyd Mayweather's management, but I think she, parted ways. Now she has 11 fights under her belt, and the question is, if you look at the list, how she's kind of high on the list, but she's, nothing has. She hasn't really, get much attention to be that high on the list. To me, in my opinion. Now she has, like I said, she has fought at least 11 fights in her career, with 5 KOs and no losses. And she's a good, tough opponent. As we all know, she beat Clarissa back in the Olympics during the Olympic trials. But she didn't do as well. I don't think she has too many gold medals. She's competing in quite a few world championships, but I don't think she has any medals other than maybe silver, maybe a bronze, I believe. But the thing is, we're all waiting for the fight between her and Claressa Shields. That's the big fight in their division. And I think Clarissa really wants to avenge that loss. People talk about, well, Savannah beat her in the Olympics, but that's amateurs. Amateurs is one thing. You don't the same person. There's been plenty of fighters who lost in the amateurs and beat their opponents that they meet on in pros. Then you have this lady who I'm a fan of. This was one Miss Hannah Gabriels. And Hannah's been in the game quite some time. Is an amazing woman. Being a mother, a boxer. I gotta respect her game. Now she has 24 fights on her belt with 21 wins, two by KOs. I think it's 12 KOs and 2 losses and a draw. And she was the woman to put Claressa Shields on her back, and that was back in 2019. That was 2019, I believe. And the only woman to did knock Claressa Shields down. And I think the possibility that if Claressa Shields beats Savannah Marshall, or when she beats Savannah Marshall, this is what I'm gonna say, it might need to do a rematch. And I think if I was a promoter, I would put this on make it like a not the third, like the second fight, like under the undercard. Like the undercard under the undercard. You have the main fight, you had the undercard, and you had the fight under the undercard. And I think this would be a great fight to see. I think to see if Hannah can probably make lightning strike twice. She possibly could even beat Clarissa. Who knows? And this fight could happen. Now, some of these ladies who were on the list, I took off because they didn't belong to me, in my opinion. This is her name is Sinisa Estrada. If I got the name wrong, I'm sorry. So Miss Estrada, she's been fighting for quite some time. She's a young upcoming fighter. With 22 fights on her belt. 22 wins, 22 and nine knockouts. Now, her claim to fame was really fighting this lady, was it last year? A lady who was like this, just starting up as a boxer. She knocks out 7 seconds in the first round. But the woman she fought was just not that well trained. So I don't think she really belongs on this list. Truthfully, she's not a top tenner. She's not a top tenner. She's maybe not pound for pound. Then you have Chantel Cameron, and she's also from Great Britain. And I think a lot of European fighters, there's a lot of attention for them overseas. I think most of this pound for pound list, I believe, was mostly put together by European, because that's one thing. I think one thing was why HBO got canceled, because it focused too much on the European fighters, not enough on the Americans. And she's impressive, but she fought people like, Mary McGee and Melissa Hernandez, fighters that are pretty much out of their prime. So it's not really a real test for her. I think, depending on what weight class it is, maybe someone like, I would say, Michaela Meyer, or maybe somebody else like, I think one lady, I think was named Joni Mitchell, I believe. Yeah, there's a possibly. So there's a long list of women who probably, if she's in the right division, she can probably, test her skills with. And one last lady I want to say here right here is one Miss Alicia Baumgarten. And, Alicia, she's young and she's pretty impressive. But the fact is, her skill set is still kind of development. She has, 12 fights on the belt. She took, 11 wins, 7 KOs, and 1 loss. And, her most notable fight is a fight against Terry Harper, where she knocked her out. Had the girl knocked out standing. And that was, and she took that title. Terry Harper just won the title, and then, Baumgarten came along and took it. So, I think she's pretty impressive. But let's talk about probably the fight between her and Michaela Meyer. And that'd be an interesting fight. 2 young, attractive young women who have pretty good skill sets That'd be a fight worth watching. Just to be a fight. Also, you can put on like the undercard or the undercard. You know, I mean, that'd be a great fight to see. Now, some ladies who I think should also, they're not the pound for pound list, but they're still great fighters, like Heather Heat Harding and um, Callie Reese, and also Melissa St. Ville. These are some great fighters. They don't get as much recognition as they should, but these are some great female fighters. I follow Melissa on Twitter. She's really cool. She's a great lady, and she's also advocate for autism, and I respect that about her. But we all know the big fight should be next to Amanda Serrano and Tina Katie Taylor is Savannah Marshall and Claressa Shields. This is a fight people really want to see. We know that Clarissa just had an opponent, and Savannah had an opponent coming up, I think, in March. So maybe we might see this fight maybe by the summer, or maybe by the end of the year. It's up to you. It's about negotiation. And the fight should fight in the US. I think fight in Vegas. I mean, it'd be a great undercard, something like of a big fight, something like, Crawford versus Spence, or maybe Devin Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. I mean, it's all up to how people want to set it up. Maybe somebody who's smart enough to see this opportunity for this fight to be on a major card should take it. But like I said, I'm a fan of Claressa Shields. She is dipping into two worlds in combat sports. She's in boxing, she's MMA. I say like this again. I think she has great talent, and I think the one thing is she should have took some time before she got MMA. I think maybe a year or so, maybe at least 2 more years, and she really needs to work on a skill set. It is tough. You got to deal with people kicking, knee you, all that stuff. Her last fight, she could have got an opponent, but she should have been smart. She should have stepped away and let the girl air out a little bit and then drop her some hammers on her. But like I said, she is to me a pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world. And whoever wrote that BS list don't know, excuse me, shit. So Claressa Shields should be on pound for pound. No, definitely, most definitely in the top 5, if anything. But like I said, I support Claressa Shields. I support the sister, and I hope And like I said, one thing: don't make comments about fighting men. Keep that out of your mouth, Clarissa. Concentrate on the people in front of you, because that's the one thing you got to concentrate on the people in front of you first. This man all the way George Page, aka the Emperor of Women Boxing Talk. Don't like, subscribe, don't subscribe. I'm out.